My family had the incredible opportunity in the summer of 2022 to spend 6 weeks in England and Scotland and France as a part of my sabbatical. We received a grant to do this. We planned the itinerary, we packed our bags, and we landed, first of all, in a little village called Bampton in Oxfordshire in England. And coming from a region which is frequented by tourists, my children decided right off that we were not going to be tourists, anything but tourists. Now, we were in an area on the edge of the Cotswold that had just recently, the Cotswolds is kind of overrun with tourists. I don't know if you know it, perhaps you've been one of them. But this village was just kind of been discovered on the tourist route because it was featured in Downton Abbey. And so they weren't used to tourists, and they were quite friendly and receptive to us. And they even gave us a library card because we were there for 10 days. And what are you going to do in a village for 10 days without a library card? So after that experience in Bampton, we decided we weren't tourists, we were visitors. That felt like a good, hospitable kind of place to arrive at. But the next place that we went, we drove all the way across the UK, and we wound up in Canterbury. Canterbury is not only the center of the historic center of the Anglican Church, which the Episcopal Church is descended from, but it's also a major medieval pilgrimage site. People would travel and walk the Pilgrim's Way to Canterbury from all over the UK and even from other parts of Europe. And it was in Canterbury that we discovered that we didn't actually, not only did we not want to be tourists, we didn't actually want to be visitors. What we really were and what we wanted to be were pilgrims. Because in Canterbury, we learned about the pilgrims. We learned that people would travel and take these big journeys on foot for days or months or years to come to a place that was holy. And we even learned on the walking tour with the guide in the cathedral that the pilgrims would make the last few steps of their journey up the steps of the cathedral into the place where Thomas Becket, the martyr of Canterbury, was buried on their knees. And so Lucas actually, he was the brave one on our pilgrimage tour, and he climbed up those steps on his knees. We were only there for about 30 hours, but we just were so overwhelmed by this place that we got up early and we stayed late and we got into all of the nooks and crannies, and we did our very best to soak up the holiness of the place. Pilgrims are on a journey with a purpose, and the purpose is to find holiness, to have an encounter with the sacred. There's a lot of journeying in our Christmas story. Almost everyone is on the move. Mary and Joseph take a long journey from the northern part of the Holy Land from the Galilee to Judea to Bethlehem, where Jesus is born. The shepherds, they take a journey from their fields into the town. Even the angels are on the move. Pilgrims take journeys with purpose. Pilgrims are seeking the sacred. Now, Mary and Joseph's journey was motivated not from their own desire to seek the sacred. You could actually say they were bringing the sacred with them, weren't they? But their journey was motivated by external forces, by empire, right? By the Roman Empire deciding that it was going to move people around. It didn't matter if you were pregnant or if it was convenient or if it was cold and rainy and storming. It didn't matter. They were going to move you around, and they were going to count you, and they were going to put you in a box and check it off in order to extract the most amount of money from you possible. And it's into this context that Mary and Joseph's journey comes. But they come bringing the sacred with them. And when they finally found a place to lay their heads, I think that they actually probably encountered the sacred in a new way. I know that for me, having had my children on the inside and then meeting them on the outside was a whole new experience. It was like, oh, there you are. There you are. I've known you, and now I know you in a new way. And I imagine Mary having that experience and saying, there you are, to the one who has always been there. to the one who was and is to come. In her arms, there you are. You've chosen me. What an encounter with the holy. We set out on our sacred journeys with purpose and intention, but the encounter is almost always surprising. I was surprised the other day when, for some reason, I've been in close contact with the Latino community, lived in Latin American countries for like 30 years, and I've never been to a proper posada. And we had a posada here the other night with our Spanish-speaking community, and it was so sweet. Posada is a tradition from Latin America, if you're not familiar, of reenacting the journey of Mary and Joseph seeking shelter, finding shelter. And so it was raining. We walked from door to door upstairs in the atrium and knocked on the doors, and the kids were really good about telling us, no, you can't come in. And so we would keep singing the Posada song and march to the next door. And finally, when we got to the party where we were going to be let in, the words to the song really struck me. They said, "Entren santos peregrinos, come in, holy pilgrims." And I thought, well, look at that. I never thought of Mary and Joseph as pilgrims before. But Mary and Joseph weren't the only pilgrims, you see, because we were also all following them along on their journey. So we became pilgrims with them, pilgrims on a journey with a purpose, not just to find a place that would receive us, but a place to encounter the holy. The shepherds receive an invitation. Come and see this thing that has happened. Come and see this thing that God is doing. And if we thought that the God of all the universe coming to be born in a stable with animals was kind of a high-low juxtaposition, well, that's not accidental, because we get it again in the shepherds and the angels. The angels couldn't have chosen a kind of rougher lot to appear to than this group of scruffy, smelly shepherds in the fields outside of Bethlehem. I mean, think about it. They could have gone to anybody. They could have gone to the mayor, the city council. They could have gone to, maybe hit up Jerusalem that was nearby and brought in the muckety mucks from Jerusalem. But that's not what they did, right? That's not who God sent them to. God sent them to the very outskirts, the outskirts of the outskirts of the outskirts, just to make sure that in case anybody thought they weren't included in this good news, that wouldn't be true, right? Because if all of us are included, right, it can't just be me that doesn't count. The shepherds count, right? The stable counted. So all of us are included in this good news. And the shepherds don't receive a command, right? But they receive an invitation. Come and see. And one of the commentators I was listening to this week said, well, gosh, I wonder how the logistics of that worked out. Did they have to leave some of the sheep, somebody behind to watch the sheep, or did they bring all the sheep with them? I mean, how many sheep was it, It was probably quite an intrusion onto a very private and personal moment for Mary and Joseph, right? All of a sudden, these shepherds burst in, talking about angels. And Mary thinks, oh, I've heard this before. Right? What she heard from the angel Gabriel at the Annunciation, what she knew when she held that infant God in her arms, she hears now again in a noisier, smellier way from the shepherds. You won't believe what they told us. The sky was blindingly bright, and we heard from these angels about your baby, right? This baby. And how are they to know the baby? The baby lying in a manger, right? It would be like, go find the baby, that's out in the alley. Right? That's the baby that you're looking for. Good news of great joy for all the people. Friends, you are here tonight, and you are a pilgrim. You've come out on this rainy, stormy night, or maybe you've turned on your live stream. You're here on purpose, right? You are on a journey with a purpose. You've set aside time and space to come and encounter the holy. And I hope that in some way tonight, you meet God. I hope that God just grabs you and surprises you. I'll tell you how that happened for me. It happens every year in some little moment in the Christmas pageant. And the moment this year was when there was a little angel sitting right where Deacon Diane is sitting, holding the baby Jesus doll. And when Mary and Joseph and the donkey finally got to the stable, there by the manger, the angel comes up to them and puts the little baby Jesus doll in Mary's arms. And I thought, well, look at that. I never thought about that before. Right? The angel, of course the angel brought baby Jesus to Mary. I mean, who else was going to do it? You see, it's by holding on to these moments, finding these holy moments, these sacred encounters in every single day, and then sharing them, right? Sharing them with someone, that we unwrap the gifts that are there for us, that we take them into our lives and put them to use. If you are a pilgrim, if you've come here tonight, you are seeking something. There is a reason why you're here. The one you are seeking is also seeking you. And those who seek will find. So like Mary, take those moments, treasure them, hold them in your heart, ponder them. Like the shepherds, share the good news that you've found and keep taking sacred journeys. You will find and you will be found by God. I'd like to leave you this evening with one of my very favorite Christmas poems. It's by Alla Marie Bozarth, and it's called Breakfast in the Barn. If you Google breakfast in the barn, you will find Farmstead. So you might need to remember her name, Alla Marie Bozarth. Before Jesus was his mother, before supper in the upper room, breakfast in the barn. Before the Passover feast, a feeding trough. And here, the altar of earth, fair linens of hay and seed. Before his cry, her cry. Before his sweat of blood, her bleeding and tears. Before his offering, hers. Before the breaking of bread and death, the breaking of her body in birth. Before the offering of the cup, the offering of her breast. Before his blood, her blood. And by her body and blood alone, his body and blood and whole human being. The wise ones knelt to hear the woman's word and wonder, holding up her sacred child, her spark of God in the form of a babe. She said, receive and let your hearts be healed and your lives be filled with love. For this is my body, this is my blood. Amen.